Okay, dokie. New subject. New subject off from role playing, guns, martial arts, stuff like that. Sometimes I get the feeling that people have a hard time understanding where I come from. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that for as long as I can. The last time I checked, I had about 15 minutes of video time that I could put onto YouTube at a time. I don't know if that's changed, so this is going to be kind of an experiment. I'm going to talk for as long as I have subject matter to talk about and try to post it. If it works, yay. If it don't, who gives a shit, right? Um, First of all, everything I talk about on YouTube is always open to debate and conversation. Sometimes I have a harder time reading because I have astigmatism and an eye tracking issue and this kind of stuff. And I don't wear my glasses because my glasses are fugly, and that's a bold understatement. But lately I've been watching a couple of channels. I would highly recommend both, not only for entertainment value, but for education value. One is Spirit Science, and the other is The Atlantis King, which only slightly bothers me because shouldn't it be The Atlantean King? But that's just me. And it really doesn't matter. It's his perspective and his point of view, and that's all that matters. So long as he's enjoying himself, whoop-de-fucking-do-da-day. Let's start with the universe. Okay, let's get big and then let's get small. These are just my opinions, just my perspectives. If you like them, yay! If you don't, oh well. We'll move on. So, the universe. From my point of view, the universe is this immense, complicated clockwork. And if I get this wrong, excuse me, correct me, it's all right. I have a hard time with time, left, right, space in general. But anyways, we'll get there. As left brain as it may sound, to me, the cosmos is this immense, magical, wonderful machine that not only is structured in such a manner as we have this fate kind of sort of thing going on. There are things that you have to experience in this lifetime. My mother would say, you chose to experience these things before you were born. I would say, that's a crock. It's a little bit more sizable than just you before you came into this existence. But I have learned to not say such things as that's a crock, because my mother gets a little peeved with me when I do. Dude, you're way off base. And the one of my personal big struggles is overcoming wrong. There is no such thing as wrong. I'm not wrong for my opinions. You're not wrong for your opinions. It's just how we decide to interpret them. But anyways, so there is this fate kind of sort of thing. There are things and events in your life that you have to experience. They are very open to interpretation, as is anything in that subject matter, but nevertheless, you must experience them. Period. Bar none, this is life, you must experience these. But this great machine also is open enough and functions in a certain way enough that there is the ability for free will and free interpretation. You are capable of not only having to contend with this structured format of your existence that you must go through. These are the events that you cannot avoid and will have to contend with and are very open to interpretation. But also at the same time, you have free will. You can contend with these things now, or you can contend with them in the next existence if you have one. And that brings me to the next subject matter. Soul. Soul, a lot of people would call it spirit and things like that. I am a person who does not believe in an individual soul per person. I don't believe in that, and I haven't believed in that for, or excuse me, yeah, I know what I'm saying. I haven't believed in that for a very long time now. I do not have an individual soul. You do not have an individual soul. We all share a singular spirit, a singular soul, and it is that binds us together, that has events occur that brings us closer. And I have a hard time filling in the gaps, but nevertheless, we don't have individual souls. We have a single unified soul. And from my perspective, how that works is there is this ball type thing I call the universal soul, and that universal soul stretches out in an arc, and that arc is your existence from one lifetime, and it might just be one lifetime, to multiple lifetimes, and it reconnects with itself, kind of like a solar flare, or I think it's a solar flare, where you see massive amounts of energy come off the sun, move in an arc, and then pour back into itself. Very similar to that. And honestly, that's where I get the idea from. The mind. The mind is complicated, and it hurts my head on a regular basis. And I don't mean to label anything for if the Atlantis King or the people from Spirit Science happens to come across this video. The mind, not the brain, the mind is the expression of this unified soul. And as our mind evolves, we're going to be more and more interconnected and recognizably interconnected than we are now. Because we'll start to see that our spirit is not separate, it is one thing. One of the problems that our society has is the division game. This is my finger. My finger is attached to my hand along with my other fingers and my thumb. My hand is attached to my wrist. My wrist is attached to my forearm. My forearm is attached to my elbow. As opposed to going, this is my arm, we talk about the individual pieces of it. We label each thing, we separate it out, and we fail to connect the whole. And that's one of the problems. I struggle with that in conversation with my children because I go, dude, it's my arm. But what is that? What is that right there? It's my arm. One of the other big problems that we have, as opposed to separating up our own selves from our own selves, is separating each other from each other. And I think the Atlantis King talks about that a little bit. He talks about how we divide each other from ourselves, and we celebrate our differences, and that maybe we should celebrate the things that make us the same. From my perspective, the differences are the same. From my perspective, there is no such thing as separations. There is no such things as simply because my skin is fairer than my black neighbor does not mean my black neighbor and I are any different than each other. We are a single entity, a single expression of existence. What makes us unique is the ability to have the individualistic point of view. Oh, it was next. The body. The body is a car. Okay? That's the perspective I come from. If I understand what spirit science was talking about, how we are growing into a no longer double helix genetic system, but a tri-genetics system, to me, that means the car is evolving. It does not yet mean that we are at the point where the car and the spirit are a singular thing, in which case the car ceases to exist and we can be both physical and non-physical at the same time. What my mother calls the veil, that thing that separates us from the rest of existence, from that thing that separates us from being able to see those who have passed on already, those supernatural weirdness things that bump in the night, things of that particular perspective. To my mother, that is the veil. To me, that is our own personal ignorance. There is no such thing as a veil or a barrier that separates us from anything else. We've just chosen that this is this and that is that, and it is separate, and we're going to ignore it now. What else? Destiny. You know, that fate type thing and that free will type thing. Yeah, whenever you put those two things together, that's called destiny in my book. Okay. Okay, let's talk about darkness. Werewolves, vampires, the undead, general, and other things that go bump in the night. I believe wholeheartedly that when you cease to exist physically, you leave an imprint. If that imprint is high negative energy and you decide not to move on, something abnormal is caused by that. Also, and this is from my own personal experience, the human form is highly malleable. How do I put this? Whenever I was just out of high school and I was a little bit more experimental with the things that I studied and the things that I practiced, I wanted to understand where people were coming from on transforming into animals, especially the shamanistic point of view. My father's opinion would be that we are either telepathically seeing through the animal's eyes, or are psychologically choosing to experience such a thing. I know better. How do I know better? I'll tell you how I know better. Fire is a transformative element. Okay? Also, like in martial arts, where the head goes, the body follows. And if you can just move the nose, the whole rest of the body follows. Where the spirit goes, the body follows. And I believe, and this is going to be kind of hard to explain because I'm not meaning literally spirit form. Your spirit or your essence, your soul does not have a shape. It determines the shape of your physical presence as much as genetics determine your physical presence, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. We're about to hit the 15-minute mark, and I'm a little nervous about that because I have not posted a video that's more than 15 minutes long, and we passed it. So it'll either post or it won't post or it'll half post. We'll see. Who gives a shit? So there I am. I am hanging out with a female friend of mine. We are not necessarily romantically involved. This is just after high school and just after a previous relationship. We are more playfully involved, and at that age, you have friends like that where there might be sexual conduct involved, but there is not really a relationship involved. And we're horsing around, just being young, being dumb, goofing off. What had actually happened is we had gotten into a little bit of a tickle fight. And I had this preconceived notion that I was the spirit of a cat. Because I like to lay, and still do, like to lay on the back of couches, right on the edge, all curled up, and relax. But the spirit of an animal does not matter. Because some people, especially Christians, would say animals do not have spirits. And as much as I do not believe that, I do not believe that a spirit or entity may enter into your person without direct consent. And I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. I'm a very superstitious person, as bizarre as that sounds. Anyways, we had gotten into this big tickle fight. She was on the ground towards the hallway, trying to find some place to sit herself up. I was on the back of a couch, laying on my back on the spine of the couch, laughing my ass off, and it was like a love seat. It was only about like 2 cushions. And I had decided that I was going to slither down onto the floor and get her back, because she had got me pretty damn good. And I hit the floor and I started moving towards her, and she got this frightened expression on her face and started scooting back towards the wall as fast as she could till she hit her head. Not very hard, just like a bump on the back of her head against the wall. And I sat up a little bit and I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "You're a snake." I said, "I am nowhere near as bad as a snake." And she said, No, you turned into a snake." And I stood up and I didn't understand, but apparently I am, we didn't do any drugs because, I don't do that. And most of the people I've known, with a few exemptions, don't do that. At least they didn't do that then. Anyways, yeah, I had turned into a snake. The physical form is malleable. You can be physically whatever you want to be, but the importance is to never let go of your essence. If it was so big and important to you that you could have teeth, big fangs and claws, then you could have big fangs and claws. Claws. You just have to go about the meditations correctly. If you wanted to be pure spiritual essence, you could be. And this magnificent clockwork that we live in allows all of that. There is no stagnation. There is no, cog in the wheel type situation. It is a much more elaborate, much more beautiful, much more etherical machine than that. It is a machine in the sense that it performs timed functions, and things perform a certain way according to that schedule. Beyond that, it is unexplainable. And every point of the cosmos and every power within it is at your fingertips. You just have to be willing to tap into it. Do you want to be Superman? Guess what? You can be. Anyways, that's all that I have to say on that, and getting ready to hit the 20-minute mark. I really hope this loads. Talk to you later.